Hello everyone, now it's time for my review of Dead Space, PlayStation 3, EA 18. Great game. Now, way back before Dead Space came out in 2008, the term survival horror game was shunned or laughed upon as there had been too many half-assed and just plain shit horror games for many years. But thanks Silent Hill 3 that EA decided to release Dead Space as this remarkable game brings the horror and most definitely the survival back into the revived survival horror genre. The game sees you playing as a simple engineer named Isaac Clarke, as he and his team are sent to the planet-cracking ship USG Ishimura by word of a distress signal via the Ishimura. But once Isaac and his team arrive, things instantly go tits up as your ship crashes into the landing zone and blows up. Then you find out that the ship is overrun by human-infected alien life forms called necromorphs, and that all the crew are dead bar one or two minor-ish characters that appear later in the game. It is then up to Isaac and his surviving crew members, Hammond and Kendra, who are actually more important than they sound, to get off the ship by getting it running again, surviving unstoppable necromorphs, and just, well, stay alive. What the rest of the game offers up is an unrivaled tense atmosphere, incredibly unique monsters to kill and weapons to kill them with, interesting plot twists and truly stellar set pieces. Presentation. First thing you have to say about Dead Space's presentation is that it's one fucking scary game. On my very first playthrough, not knowing what I was doing or what was coming up, I was genuinely afraid to turn certain corners or even approach some boxes for fear that a disgusting enemy would jump out and rip my body in two. This feeling of constant fear and lack of safety is perpetrated in Dead Space by its fantastic user interface. As you're running around blasting suckers while screaming in fear through an over-the-shoulder camera, there's no HUD telling you about Isaac's current state. As instead, EA have really come up top trumps by having your inventory, current ammo supply, health supply and so on built into Isaac's rig suit. Your health is displayed on your back, which is really cool. Also on your back is your stasis meter and your remaining air supply for when you're in the vacuum. That is scary as fuck. The amount of ammo in the current clip of your gun is displayed via hologram when you aim, which is again really cool. And your inventory is also displayed by a hologram during real-time play, which in a shitstorm is terribly frightening. Throw in every corridor being remarkably dark and have your enemies pop out at unsuspecting, non-cliche times to scare the shit out of you, and presentation is complete. Presentation gets a remarkable 10 out of 10. Every criteria that Dead Space needed to check for presentation, it was knocked right out of the park with relative ease. Perfection. Graphics. Now graphically, Dead Space can't really have any polish because of how dark it is, but if the lights were on, the polish would be fantastic because in the dark, enemies and character models are amazing and ridiculously detailed, with Isaac's character being the best graphic thing in the game by a milestone. The necromorphs themselves are hideous to look at, but in a good way, as you can see how much mutation they've gone through and all the gore that comes with that. This graphical achievement truly helps to add to the experience. Holograms and messages via Isaac's suit and on the bench in the store and things like that have a beautiful neon blue colour on them, which is fantastic to look at. When Hammond and Kendra are speaking to Isaac via hologram messages, I have to admit at certain points I thought their faces looked real, like proper real. But not everything is good as the rest, but the textures on some of the walls and items in the room, they're quite, how do I put it, shit. Just because you've made it super dark in the room, there's no excuse to get lazy on some textures. Apart from that, nothing to report. No tears or pop-ins or frame rate issues. It's all good. Graphics for me gets an 8 out of 10. All of the main things are excellent, but everything else in the game feels a bit lazy at times. Now sound. Sound in Dead Space is, well, when it happens, superb. Even when there's no sound at all, this sound is fantastic because it creates atmosphere, gives it our realism. When enemies appear, music starts up in a panic mode and perfectly fits the theme of panic. Gunfires are very effective as their powerful bursts of sound resemble their real-life counterparts and at the same time sound futuristic. Voice acting is fantastic, especially Hammond's. The screams and growls of the Necromorphs is absolutely terrifying. It may leave people flinching, but for me, purely on a fan basis, Isaac's melee gruntings steal the show, as when you swing your weapon and curb stomp, or when you hit. You can really relate to it. Well, I can, because that's how I would sound if I was in his shoes. His big, massive shoes. Sound achieves a 9 out of 10. The only thing that stops it from getting a 10 is that it doesn't really have variety in the little music that plays during fights. Gameplay. Now, Dead Space is incredibly fun to play, even though you don't really do much. You can aim, shoot and melee as standard, but a cool new feature that you can do is a curb stomp, which sees Isaac put his right foot in a broken ankle position and slamming it into the ground for devastating effect. The game doesn't provide you with a visible map unless you open the inventory screen, but what EA has done cleverly here is give you a pinpoint system. With a press of the right stick, Isaac shines a light on the ground with a blue neon line points you in the right direction. It's really helpful and you'll be using it like every 5 steps. There are 2 special unique features that Dead Space have that are incredibly innovating, which are the weapons and the dismembering of your enemies. Weapons vaguely represent real life weapons like pistols, machine guns and flamethrowers, but the original weapons like the line cutter, the ripper, the force gun and so on actually give you a lot to think about and a lot of problems when it comes to inventory spaces. Dismembering your enemies is perhaps some of the most fun I've had in a long time, as you can blow legs, arms and heads off with your gunfire, the side of your gun or the heel of your ginormous boot. There's even a trophy for dismembering 1,000 limbs, which is so much fun to get. At certain parts in the game you collect schematics from the suits for Isaac, which upgrades your armor and inventory spaces, and you can also, with 10,000 credits, buy power nodes, which are used at benches to upgrade your weapons and health. Gameplay, after that, gets an 8 out of 10. Even though the weapons and enemy dismemberment are revolutionary, I was left still wanting more from Isaac himself, which is rectified in Dead Space 2, which is great. Lasting appeal. The only lasting appeal that Dead Space has is its trophies, but they are really good trophies and will require you to play the game for a full 3 times at least. Even after, you will still find yourself coming back to the game just for the scares and the challenge of the hardest difficulty. Lasting appeal gets a 9 out of 10, as you'll keep coming back to it. It only falls short because of the lack of multiplayer. The final verdict, ooh. What we have here with Dead Space as a whole package is hope. Hope that scary games can still be scary and still be original. Dead Space, in my opinion, is a landmark game in the survival horror genre. The final overall score for Dead Space, considering all other scores, is 9 out of 10, which gives it an incredible rating, meaning that this game has fantastic achievements in design, gameplay and concept, or all of the above, with only minor flaws or imperfections. Without a doubt, these are must-have titles that stand at the top of their field. Well, that's it, really. Review of Dead Space, just pushing it out, blah blah blah. It's a really good game and a must buy, and if you're thinking about buying Dead Space 2 without having played Dead Space 1, don't. You must play Dead Space 1 before you play Dead Space 2. It's a truly fantastic game. Highly recommend it, and it's incredibly cheap nowadays. And that's it really. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the review. Down below is where things go. Hope you buy the game because it's worth it. Yeah, just thanks for watching, and as always, it's much appreciated. And remember, keep dismembering those limbs.